Hello everyone, it's the Cowboy. Welcome to Elliott with Cafe and another edition of Bitcoin and Ethereum technical analysis. Let's jump right into it. It's been, again, a couple of weeks since our last public video on here on YouTube, and Bitcoin has been pulling back. If you remember, we watched this 42K levels on the last video, and the markets were approaching it, and they're just kind of stalling at the time up into those levels. And our worries were that, we had a big cluster of fib zones in here into the 1618 multiple of some of these lags, right? We were looking at the multiple of this wave 1 from the start of wave 2. We were looking at the multiple of this wave 1, I think, from this wave 2 low. So we had quite a bit of of a zone here of resistance at about 42K, so several levels, 423%. This move compared with this, wave 1 starting from wave 2 low. So there's a bunch of zones in here that were kind of telling us that there is a chance that Bitcoin is going to pull back. The RSI were starting to flash some heavy signs on there on the weekly charts. There were 90, 92, so it was kind of flashing red. And sure enough, we kind of pulled back a little bit in here. Now, the drop is not extremely large. On the overall progression of the market, we pulled back, let's say, about 23%. Roughly from the beginning of this third wave, right? If we're considering that starting in about 9,800, we pulled back. Maybe we dropped as deep as maybe 30%, but somewhere in average, about 24%, 25%. And I still think we got some way to go before we encountered maybe a little bit more of a pullback. And I think those levels are going to probably start kind of fading away, maybe near between 50 and 60,000. We'll see how much room actually Bitcoin is going to correct in here, and how large this is going to get, right? We're just kind of beginning. I'm always kind of concerned that just a little bit of a blip in here of a correction, it might not be enough to correct this whole advance. But if I'm looking at it as a fourth wave intermediate, I think in terms of size, it starts to be, let's say, pretty accurate, and we're going to get here maybe towards the end of this month into a zone where this correction could possibly finish. And for that, I'm looking also at some of these time fibs in here. So I'm going to drop down here maybe to a 6 hour, and you will see how what I've done here is I've compared this fourth wave. Let me go back to a 1 day. What I've done here is I've compared a time progression, and I also actually have a video about how to use this in trading view. This is the Motivate software that kind of these are kind of plotted automatically into some of the the details that we have here on the software, but you can do it in trading view by using I think it's called the time analysis tool or something like that. I'll put a link in here below. It escapes the name right now, but that's a good one to kind of find out how much time you would need in a fourth wave compared with the second, and to kind of digest and don't have unreasonable expectations that we're actually going to start moving right away. So if I'm comparing this fourth wave with this in here, right, at 100%, we're getting pretty close to it, right? And that's about 100% line. You can see that green on there. And then I have the 1618 that comes, it's a little bit later. So the 1618 actually comes in maybe about February 13th. So you could be looking still at 2-3 weeks of sideways movement in Bitcoin, and it still wouldn't be a big problem. So if I drop, let's say, back to the 6 hour, you can see here a little bit better. We kind of reacted a little bit at a 618. We pulled up a little bit in here, and now we're kind of traveling slowly to 100%, which is exactly the end of January, right? So at that point, this fourth wave would be equal with that second that I just showed you before. There are several interpretations here that you can, like, this wave could unfold. This could become a complex correction where this is a WXY, right? And then you have a double zigzag in here. You can connect again and go again in a WXY and continue to correct lower, right? And that will take you to 1618. This whole thing could become a triangle where this is an A, that's a B. You're still dropping down in a C wave in here in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, possibly, or it can be the initial leg that could be complete, because you can still have a WXY, and this leg A of a triangle could be done at these levels right there, right? And that's your A, and now we're doing the B, and then we're doing C, D, and E, and so on, and then we're still kind of pushing back towards middle of February before we embark back up higher. So this is just a little bit of an outlook, shorter term in Bitcoin. I think kind of going back to a 2-day chart, I'm still bullish on it. I really don't want it to get, even if we're correcting, I really don't want it to get much below this $24,000. So if we're starting to drop below 24,000 and we're starting to get closer to 50, which is about 20, I'm going to have an issue considering this a fourth wave, and I'm going to have to look at it in a little bit of a different way, which, by the time we get there, if we do, I'll have something prepared. I already have something in mind for that. But I don't think we're there yet, so I don't want to confuse you guys. So let's just kind of stay with the fourth wave idea. I think this is, a very reasonable count. Even if this wave 1 in here, it's not correct, and I have to place it in here, and that becomes your 2, this could still be a very simple value 3. It will still allow me to do a fourth wave, except that I'm not going to have another subdivision. But it still kind of points higher between 50 and 60,000 before we, let's say, correct again. So I'm being patient in here. I'm watching it. I'm not ready to, jump into the market just yet. I think, these levels are starting to hold. I want to see this market, mature a little bit and maybe correct a little bit more. Give it some time on the clock. If I miss it, I miss it. But I wanted to, wait another week and see kind of how we develop and, what happens into the, let's say for the following 7 to 10 days, and see if this correction continues to kind of unfold. Now, in terms of shorter term trading, as I talked to the guys in the room here, in our pro room, you'll see the link below. You can take advantage of some of this stuff. We've actually taken a very nice long trade. We longed the market back in here, because every time you kind of have a, an initial decline, you look for a bounce back higher to kind of retest the highs, no matter, what type of pattern you're looking at. But once you see something that's almost complete and you see a reaction up, we bought this pullback and we enjoyed a very nice gain up here into this wave. I was looking at shorting this market back in here. We never really did it, but it was one of the talks that we had into the room that could be a place where stuff could kind of be rejected and you can kind of turn lower. So now I think there could be another opportunity here as the market does maybe a pullback, and you can get up higher and trade this lag of this. If that's an A, that would be this C of B, right? So, that's kind of my plan in Bitcoin looking forward. Overall, I remain bullish. I think, the market is still in a nice bullish trend in here. You have this one cycle, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5, and you continue to push. Ideally, you're probably going to get to 112,000. We'll see what the timeline is on that as we're continuing to move. Let me take a quick look at the MAs and show you kind of what the things look on there. Again, I think on the last video I talked about this as well. We were at about almost 200% distance traveled from the 200-day moving average, right? That was another kind of warning sign that you're starting to, be quite extended from the average. And we'll pull back. The 21-day here held a little bit. We broke below it, so that's an initial sign that this correction could extend a little bit longer. And now we bounce from the 50, right? Which is a nice indication. I think a lot of fundamental guys and institutional guys watch these, the 50 and the 200, and there could be a bunch of institutional buying happening already at these levels. But if you kind of go back and look at some of these moving averages, you can see that every time you kind of start back to attack it, there might be a period where we're going to get a little bit of overlapping. So I'm expecting maybe a little bit more chop, where this 50 is going to go up, this 21 is going to come down, the price will do some, just bounce around, and we'll get a little bit of a cluster in here. They're going to interlock each other, the moving averages. The 200-day will climb up a little bit more and kind of start to flatten out. We might sell a little bit lower, and then we're going to pick back up. So, we've had a pretty nice advance. So we got to give this market a little bit of room to breathe and to kind of digest the move a little bit more. In terms of the candlestick patterns, there's nothing really earth-shattering on here. I don't have a bearish engulfing. I don't have a very solid, let's say, reversal pattern on here just yet. So I'll just kind of monitor it. I mean, it's bearish for right now for the past couple of weeks. The bears control the market, and that's where we are. That's a 4-day. And then kind of going back to a 1-day. So far, we just have this kind of 3-wave correction. But, the bullish signal is not very strong just yet. So I'll continue to watch it. All right, let's jump over to Ethereum and see what Ethereum does. And let's take a look at this. So on the green count, We continue to look bullish, right? Ethereum almost made, I think it made just a slight marginal new high. And if you remember what happened in Bitcoin, similarly when we broke 20,000, we kind of pulled back, we hovered around for a little while before we actually decisively broke higher. And I think Ethereum does a similar story in here. It's been a very good performer, actually outperforming Bitcoin. I'll take a look at those, relative comparison charts in a little while, but you'll see that, I think Ethereum has a little bit more room to grow in here. Overall, I'm looking at this right as a 1, 2, then another 1 and another 2 in here. And this is, we're in the middle of this larger third wave minor that's still somewhat progressing. So overall for these targets, you can look at about 2,500 to about 3,700. Again, it seems a lot, but from where we are right now, right? So you're looking at another, 3x from here. But I think there's room there to grow. I think the market, it's in a bullish trend. It shows there is no signs in here of reversal of anything like that. If anything, we're just kind of still correcting up into these levels. Maybe that's a fourth wave, and then we're going to push up higher in fifth to complete third. So if I go there from a 4-day or a week to whatever there was to a 1-day chart, the subdivision is a 1, 2. That's another 1, 2 in here. I think it's got to be a flat because it's a very awkward look. And I mean, even if I place a wave 2 back in here, that's fine. And I got to do a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So if I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you still got to do a 4 and a 5, right? That would complete my sequence. Then the fourth wave starts. And then we push back up higher. So overall, as long as, let's say, these levels kind of hold in here, this 9, 10, I think that, we're still kind of safe considering this a fourth wave corrective move, and then we still got to push back up higher in here. So, little more awkward subdivisions than kind of in Bitcoin, so a little bit more unclear. But I think if you zoom out and you look at it kind of from this perspective, it tells you that, even if you're going to pull back a little bit in here, we're going to try to push back and break to new time highs and just go back there towards 2,500. So, that's my view on Ethereum. On the MAs, these things are not as crazy as they were necessarily in Bitcoin, the advance, but, again, we've just kind of tested the 21-day. We might be pulling back. And while this kind of 50 rises up a little bit, maybe the price will meet it here and then, push back up higher. This 200 will continue to push. Overall, I mean, both the 50s and the 100 tells you that the trend is up, and, you look for opportunities to join as much as possible. Now, we do have a little bit of a divergence here. I agree with that, right? As the price makes new highs, the relative strength here is kind of, losing on here. So that could indicate that we might be selling off a little bit. But again, as long as these levels kind of hold and we're not getting anything major, I'm pretty confident in a continuation higher. Right, so that's kind of my short view on Ethereum. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I'm not looking into shorter term trading in here, at least at this point. We did take a long with our members. We bought just a quick trade in here as this was making a triangle and we were breaking through these levels. We enjoyed the move all the way up here, and then we kind of shut it off and closed it. We had some 50% gains taken, and then we raised the stops quickly just because I started to notice a little bit of a fall in there and just kind of stalling at the top, so we got out. And right now I don't have a high degree of confidence in opening any new trades, but I'll continue to watch it. Anyway, if you guys wanted to see how we trade and what we do in the room, this is a quick sample of, for example, of the Elliott Wave Pro Room, right? And the Elliott Wave Cafe Pro Room. We also have the chat room, and then we have the alerts channel. I'll show you there shortly. And this is some of the things that I post for my members every single day, and we do videos daily, and all kind of charts and explanations. So for example, look at this link, right? This was an awesome trade, and we have commentaries on there. I said it's a good place to respect the second wave from the 50%. We really don't want it getting much larger in size. So it had a chance, right? That because of the way that it kind of pulled back compared with the second wave of a larger degree, that it was going to push back up higher. We're long on links since about 9. We've opened a new position on the break to new highs, and we're enjoying some profits in here. And I think, it's important to kind of monitor Elliott wave structures and see and put that in your favor. So we're not just, I'm not just throwing to the guys into the room just counts and charts without explanations, right? And we actually trade what we preach, and we get into the positions based on what we see on the charts, right? The other one that we enjoyed is Tezos. We're long on Tezos. We open a much larger position on there, and then you can see kind of how I'm going through seasonality, and we have rotation graphs, and I daily, every few hours we provide updates on there. And then let me show you quickly also our this is our alert channel on here, where I put trades every time they make sense, and I see what happens, and I provide them based on the Elliott wave pattern. So we're not a day trading service. I'm not jumping in and out of trades every single 5 minutes. That's not my style. I look at the higher time frames and try to put the trades where I have more of a edge towards the market, and you can see in here we've gotten pretty good profits. I mean, you can kind of go through them and see where we are. So I'm not just throwing charts and stuff out there. We actually do trade on here. So this is some of the latest one that we've taken, and the XLM was a really good one, and kind of back in here we also trade currency. So I open along in the euro, we get gold and chart and stocks as well. So anyway, this is, you can see right here at the bottom, that's the latest one that I've opened on Link, right? Position at the market, we entered at about 22.50 or something, stops at 18.90. I never recommend risking more than, let's say, between 1 and 3%. Depends on where the stop is. You have to adjust your size, and that's up to you how you choose that. But I place my stops based on the count that I see, okay, and not based off a percentage of my account or anything like that, right? I wanted to see, the percentage of the account is very important because that's your money management, right? So when I say don't risk between 1 and 3%, that's how you adjust it. But I take that in relationship with how far my stop is. So anyway, kind of going back to the charts, let's just jump now and take a look at some relative rotation on here and see where that leads us. So this one, I'm comparing, and I'm looking at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and this is a monthly rotation graph, right? So for right now, if I open a monthly chart of Ethereum and one of Bitcoin, for right now, Ethereum, it's outperforming Bitcoin, and you can see in here, these are, every one of these dots is 1 month kind of going back, so you can see how actually they were performing for the past few months and years, right? Now we're in 2018, we're coming back to 2019, and see who was the leader and kind of who was outperforming and who was underperforming, right? If I go from a 1 month here to a 1 week really quickly, I'll show you and this is all against the dollar, right? The dollar is up here as a benchmark. You can see how Bitcoin is starting to lose, as you can see obviously on the charts, it was starting to lose relative strength, and we're kind of turning back in here. We're losing both momentum and relative strength. Ethereum is kind of still flat, so it's outperforming nicely, but Bitcoin, it's starting to lose a little bit. So that's on the weekly charts, and eventually, as time passes by, this will kind of start to turn around and maybe come back here into the weakening quadrant, go back into the lagging, improving, and turn, and repeat the cycle between Bitcoin and Ethereum and their strength against the dollar index on this particular case. In here I have them on the daily chart, and so this is a much shorter time frame. As you can see, right, they came from where they were actually leading the market on versus the dollar, as now they're kind of weakening, right? They're still as a relative strength, they're still beating the dollar, but they're weakening because they came from leading in there to kind of weakening, right? And then what we're getting in here, we're going to actually be lagging. So both in terms of momentum and relative strength, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to lose. So that's why I'm not in a big rush to call an end to this correction, because I think that there's still going to be some room to go in here before they actually turn back. Now it could be that the momentum picks up, right, and they get into this half of the quadrant in there, and then they start to push back up higher in here, pick up momentum, and continue to perform. But we'll watch it, because we'll know exactly how this happens when the arrows start to point up. And this is what we look at every single day, and we can position ourselves into the pro room for and help with our counts into getting on the right positioning on there. Okay, so this is on the daily. Now let me show you what happens here, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So right now I'm using Bitcoin as our benchmark, and I'm looking to see how Ethereum revolves around Bitcoin so this is on a monthly basis. right? And if I pull back, you can see kind of what happened back in 2018, coming to 2019 in here, and then I'm kind of rotating. Bitcoin obviously is the benchmark, so kind of stays still, and Ethereum pushes back in here, and it's actually, you know, leading, not by much, just like you've seen before, but, you know, on the monthly charts continues to act relatively strong. If I go on the weekly, right, it's been lagging actually on here. It's been lagging Bitcoin, but now we're getting into the improving quadrant, and we're possibly going to push into leading again. So, you know, I kind of continue to favor Ethereum. I think it's a good place to be in. And then right here, it's on the daily, right? We almost lost a little bit of you know, of momentum in here, and you know, relative strength is still good, but you can see in here we were kind of turning, and now we turn back up higher. So we continue to lead on the daily basis, Bitcoin. So, you know, I'm kind of staying with that. Let's see at some of the relative comparison. This is just a very simple, let me just kind of get this out of the way, but you can see in here, let me just kind of pull it back so you guys can see the percentage change in here, right? So this is, you know, their performance over the last 10 years on the daily charts, right? Bitcoin continues to, you know, massively outperform Ethereum. This is for the past 10 years, right? Almost 21,000% versus 10,000% on here. But we'll see who's going to catch up. You know, is Bitcoin going to come and meet Ethereum, or Ethereum is going to come and meet Bitcoin? Either way, you know, I think things are definitely interesting. So that's over the last 10 years. Let's see what happened over the last 5. You know, so over the last 5 years, they're pretty, you know, equal in here, I could say, right? Ethereum actually outperforms Bitcoin in here, almost 10,000% versus 8. And then let's go and take a look what happened over the last year. Ethereum, just like you saw on those relative rotation graphs, you know, so this is last year, since last year, same time, right? We're at about 660% versus 280. You know, so a pretty good performer. And then let's see over the last quarter, right here, and then over the last month. So Ethereum continues to be good. And last week, kind of similar story, you know, because they're selling off, they're just a little bit weaker, so negative. Bitcoin is about negative 10%, and this is 0.11. All right, let me take a quick look at the seasonality as well, so you guys can see what else I'm kind of providing into the room, into the program, and what I show my members, and how we kind of prepare ourselves. Bitcoin was actually, and this is the January performance. And, you know, when we were kind of, you know, in the first couple of weeks of January, you know, I kind of cautioned everybody. I said, listen, I think Bitcoin, especially on those 42Ks, right? And, you know, with the rest of the signals that we've gotten from FIB clusters and, you know, RSI and moving averages and all that, along with the seasonality, there was a big flashing sign in there that Bitcoin could start to outperform. And one of the other indication was this kind of seasonality chart, right? Where it kind of shows me how Bitcoin performed, you know, since its inception, although it only goes to about 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong on that date, but I'm not exactly sure when Bitcoin started. I should know, right? But I don't. So anyway, this is from 2014 to 2021. But it's, you know, this is kind of the relative performance, the performance during the month of January. And you can see how the first, you know, half of the month has been pretty good. And then the last half of the month, you know, seasonally, it's been kind of a weak month for Bitcoin, where you actually go into the negative territory. And sure enough, you know, right now we are on the 23rd, which is right here. And, you know, I think we're going to continue to still kind of act weak for the rest of the month. If I take a look at the month of February, kind of going back, I'll just show you a quick blip on this. I shouldn't, because this is, you know, more for our members, but, you know, maybe the first few days in February, we're still going to be a little bit weak, and then we're going to have to pick up momentum. So that's what I'm saying. I think even the counts kind of work out that way. By the time we get to the middle of February in here, you know, maybe to the first week of February, we're going to kind of start to get more towards a bullish state on Bitcoin and start to kind of go up and have a positive performance. I'll show you really quickly just all the months. So this is where we are on the year. So you can see kind of how Bitcoin performs monthly on, you know, historically in here, right? So January all the way up here to December. All right, so I'll take you back at the charts in here. And listen, I want to thank you guys for watching this and continuing to, help our channel grow and continue to like the videos. And we're right now almost at 1,100 subscribers. The views counts are getting bigger. So which means that, the message is spreading a little bit, that I think this is a, good channel where you guys get a lot of good information, even though it's every couple of weeks. If you do want to be involved daily with our process, come and visit us into the Pro Room. I have a link below. There is also a 14-day trial that you can take, or come into the public room. I post every once in a while stuff in there, but there's a lot of guys that we talk and present charts and counts and all that. But if you really wanted to dive down and get good at Elliott Wave and the way we look at the markets, come over into the Pro Room and you'll become a better trader, I guarantee you. All right, so I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.